Hey there, happy coders. This is Kevin from happycoding.io, and I'm here with another Let's Code video where I'm going to sit here for the next hour or so and code something up, and you can follow along with me if you feel like it, or just watch and I'll post the code at the end. So over the last couple days, I've been kind of looking at the p5.js examples section at Happy Coding, and a few of the sections are a little bit more fleshed out than others. So for example, there are a bunch of examples around calling functions, but not so many around using variables. So the other day I did this spider example just to kind of improve the number of options that I have available for folks to check out. So tonight I have a similar goal in mind. I noticed that the arrays section only really has the one example, so I'm going to try to fill these sections out a little bit more. So tonight I'm going to play with arrays. Normally I have a goal in mind ahead of time. I usually come in with a project idea in my brain already, and then I write some code that kind of gets me to that goal. Tonight I don't really have a goal. My only goal is to play with arrays, so I'm not sure where this is going to take me exactly. I've got a few ideas for concepts I might hit, but no idea how I'm going to actually get there. So maybe that'll be fun, maybe it'll be confusing, who knows. But one of the things I enjoy about P5 and processing and creative coding in general is that idea that you don't really need to know ahead of time what you're doing. Kind of like how I can just kind of get out a piece of paper and a pencil and just kind of doodle without knowing what the doodle will look like at the end. I can just kind of go where I feel like going. The idea is the same in code, which is maybe not super obvious if you're used to coding in a more structured or academic or business context. So anyway, that's kind of where my head's at. I'm going to make an example that uses arrays, and I'm just going to kind of play around and see where it takes me. Okay, so to start, I'm going to open up the P5 editor like I always do, and this gives me the code editor on the left and the canvas on the right. I can hit run to run the code and create the canvas. Okay. So the one thing that I kind of planned on starting with is maybe just doing something for each pixel, width-wise. So to show you what I mean, I'll maybe decrease the height, and I want to maybe do something for each x coordinate in my canvas. Not sure what yet, but I'm going to think about that. So one thing I could do is maybe I'll do this in, let me think about this. Maybe I will do this in draw at first, and I will call no loop here. So I'm going to just come up with a static drawing at first just to get something working, and then I'll think about animation in a second. So I'm going to start with a for loop. For let x equals 0, x is less than width, x plus plus. I could use any variable name I wanted here. Common one is I, but in this case I'm going to use x because I'm looping over each kind of x coordinate in my canvas. And what do I want to do here? Maybe I want to come up with a random value, maybe call it like, I don't know, line height maybe, and set that equal to random of height. So I'm going to come up with just a random number between 0 and height. And maybe I'll use that. Yeah, okay. I'll say line, maybe I'll draw a line from x0 to x line height. Yeah, all right. So what I'm kind of expecting is that I'll see like a bunch of lines that randomly fill the screen from left to right. Let's see. Yeah, kind of. So I've got this weird artifact, which I got super distracted by last night. I sat down to do this kind of thing last night, and I got so sidetracked by this because I thought it was a bug in my code, but it turns out to be some anti-aliasing that P5 is doing automatically and that I can't turn off, actually. So there's a different video, maybe if I post it, of me going down this rabbit hole, but for now I'm not going to worry about it and I'll just say, hey, look, there are some lines. And I'm not going to worry too much about why they are black and gray and stuff. Because the answer is it's some anti-aliasing thing that P5 is doing to make it look a little smoother. So one thing I could play with is the color. So let me try maybe like turning it red just to see. And yeah, okay. I mean, it looks okay. I mean, you can kind of see what I mean by the anti-aliasing, where it's like darker and then lighter, and it's kind of blending the colors together. I'll also maybe see what happens if I make the background white. So yeah, I mean, you can play with different effects, but I don't think I'm going to stay here very long, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Plus, I already spent a good 2 hours last night getting real sidetracked by digging into why it is that way, and it turns out to not really matter. So let me put this back to kind of the defaults. All right, so I've got these lines, and they're just kind of drawn randomly from the top of the screen down to line height, and I've come up with a random value for each X coordinate in my canvas. Currently I'm calling no loop, so let's maybe add some animation, and I'll say like frame rate of, I don't know, maybe something kind of small just to start with. So you kind of see that every time draw is called, it's coming up with a different set of random line heights and a different set of random lines that are drawn to the screen. And I could just take this out and do the default. I'm not sure how distracting this is going to look, but it's going to be kind of flickery probably, so just heads up. So that looks kind of cool, but it's just kind of random, and it's a cool random animation, and I could see posting something like this maybe as an example for loops. But I already kind of have a good number of those, and I'm not sure what this really proves. I'm not sure how interesting this is. So what I might think about next is, maybe I'll introduce like why arrays become helpful in this kind of a program. So right now I have a bunch of random lines, each frame. And what if instead of changing randomly to completely random, what if I wanted them to behave a little differently? So I'm going to slow this down a little bit just to talk about it. So right now, every frame is completely different, completely random. Just each frame is not based on the previous frame. It's just a new frame that shows completely different lines. What if instead I wanted to show each line kind of randomly moving up and down? How would I do that? And it's not impossible without using arrays. Well, it depends on how you measure whether you're using an array or not, but you could probably do it without creating an array in your own code, but it would be really hard. So this is where the magic of arrays might come in handy. So I'm going to create an array, and I'll call it like line heights maybe, equals to an empty array to start with. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to do something very similar to this. So I'm going to steal this code. And really all I care about is the for loop part, and I create a line height. And I'm not going to draw the line yet, but what I'm going to say is line heights of X equals line height. So I'm basically creating a bunch of variables that I'm storing in the array. So I'm creating, in this case, 400 elements in the array, and I'm setting each element to this random value between 0 and height. Okay, I haven't actually done anything with that yet, but the array is populated, well, hopefully. So next what I can do is use this array in my draw function. So right now I still have this old for loop, which I've mostly moved up here. So I'm going to modify this. I'm going to get rid of where I calculate the line height. Actually, okay, instead of getting rid of it, what I'll do is instead of calling random here, I will get the line height from my array. And actually I'm going to maybe rename my array. Oh, I already did line heights. So I'm going to call this line heights, just updating the variable name. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So I've used a couple different variable names here, so I just confused myself a little bit. So just to kind of reiterate, I've got this array called line heights plural, and then I have this for loop in setup where I calculate a line height and then add that to the array, which I've managed to spell wrong like 3 different ways already, which is truly amazing. And so down here, same kind of thing. I'm going to say const line height equals line heights from my array, get the x element out of it, the xth element. It's a hard word to say. So we get the element that's at index x. And then I'm going to use that to draw my line. And so what I am expecting to see is a static drawing. Even though we're calling draw 1 time per second, nothing should change. Once it comes up, it should just stay that way. Cool, and it does. So next, what I want to do, and so the reason it's staying that way is just because I'm never changing any of the values that are in the array. I populate the array 1 time at the very beginning, and then I just use that array over and over again. So the next thing I might want to do is move these values a little bit. So maybe what I'll start with is line heights. Maybe I'll just add 1 to start with. So now I'm going to add 1 to the value that's there, and then I'm going to draw the line. So let's just see what this does, see what this looks like. So my frame rate is still really slow, so it's only once per second, and it's like probably really hard to see on the video, but I can kind of see that my lines are very slowly getting longer. Let me up this frame rate. What's it look like at 10? Yeah, you can see it a little bit better. And in fact, maybe I'll just speed it all the way up, get it up to 60. So there you can really see it. It's starting out at random values, and then it's increasing by 1 each frame, so 60 times per second. So each value starts at a random value, and then each value increases by 1. So we have that kind of effect. So a few things I could do here. So right now the canvas just completely fills with the lines, and I could maybe reset it after a line goes off the screen. I could maybe make them move at different speeds. I might play with both of those ideas actually. So how would I do that? So what I'll do is maybe I'll start it by making them move randomly. So maybe I'll say line heights x plus equals random, I don't know, maybe 5, so random number between 0 and 5, including like decimal places and stuff. Decimals, so like 1.5 is a valid value that might return. So let's see what that does. Okay, so now they're moving quite a bit faster, because before I was moving them at 1, now I'm moving them at a max speed of 5. So maybe I'll slow that down just for demonstration purposes. So you kind of see that they're kind of creeping up, which, you know, maybe that's more interesting. I'm not sure if it's what I'm going for tonight, but you can see that each line is kind of independent of the other lines instead of moving down at the exact same speed every time. Another thing I might do is maybe I'll actually sometimes decrease the size of the line. So now it'll fluctuate between like -2 and 2 and anything in between. So yeah, it's kind of weird. So now they can go up or down. And yeah, okay, I don't hate that. And what I might do is maybe now I'll increase this since there's more up and down. And yeah, it gets a little jaggy, but that's okay. I'm actually pretty interested that like none of them have really gone off the wall. I thought a bunch would like go way negative or way positive, but they don't seem to be. Maybe they would with enough time. But I can play with these as well. So the higher these numbers are, the more they're going to move from frame to frame. In there, I think you can kind of see that some of them are going way negative. I think a few of them are going way positive. So there are fewer and fewer that are just kind of in the middle over time, which may be interesting, but there's a couple different things you could do. But I think maybe what I'm going to do is constrain it, line heights x equals constrain line heights x between 0 and height. So I'm not going to let them go off the screen anymore. And you know what, this variable, I don't really need it since I'm kind of using the array, like indexing into the array as the variable. So I think I'm just going to stick with that kind of pattern. So maybe, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I don't love it honestly, but it's a start. I'm trying to think of maybe I can make it kind of go like oscillate a little bit. Oscillate. I don't know how to say that word. Where right now they're very random, but maybe I make it so like the line goes up for a while, then down, then up for a while, then down. There might be a couple different ways to do that. I'm wondering, like maybe I use something like sine or cosine, or maybe I use, let's see, if I go to the reference, maybe I'll use noise. I have a vague notion that this is a little bit more smooth, although I always use this wrong. I always mix this up and I have trouble thinking in terms of noise, honestly. So maybe I won't go down this particular rabbit hole tonight. So thinking about where I want to go from here, I could maybe add color as well. Yeah, I like that idea. So right now I'm playing with the height of the line, and I don't know, maybe there's a way to explore in that direction. Kind of looks like maybe a city, or maybe you flip the direction that it's in, and maybe the dark stuff is at the bottom. Maybe that looks like something. Maybe like mountains or something. There's ways you can probably explore, but I think that I'm not super feeling the effect. And I have a different idea in my brain, and that is maybe each line is a different color, and instead of playing with the height of the line, I play with the color of the line. Maybe. So how would I do that? I think what I would do is, this is going to get interesting because I'm going to get to play with a function that I don't really use that often, which is the color function. So the color function takes RGB and gives me a single value, which I think is really interesting because it's a weird, it's kind of weird. Although, am I cheating here? I'm cheating a little bit. By that I mean I kind of wanted to stick with arrays but not objects. So now I'm second guessing myself. I didn't remember that this was an object. Yeah, okay. So actually, I'm gonna try to keep myself honest. I'm gonna maybe stay away from colors. Actually, so what I could do is have something like another array where I hold like whether the line is going up or down, and then I have the lines just kind of bounce. Maybe. So what would I call that? Like line speed, maybe. And then I would say like line speeds of x equals, maybe I'll say random number between negative, what did I call it down here? 20. I said 25 and 25. I'm going to decrease that quite a bit here, I think. I'm going to slow it down because I don't want it to move so much. Yeah, okay, this is maybe interesting. And then what I'll say is, so line x plus equals line speeds of x. Yeah, okay. And then instead of constraining my line x, what I'll do is have an if statement that says if line height's x, so if my line height is either less than 0 or greater than height, so if I've kind of gone either off the top or off the bottom height, then what am I going to do? I'm going to invert the speed. I'm going to bounce back basically. So I'm going to say times equals -1. So I loop over my arrays. I say line heights x plus equals the speed, which is set to a random number to start with. And then I say if I'm off the top or off the bottom, then I multiply my speed by -1, which will send me in the opposite direction. Let's just see what this does. I think that's cool. The anti-aliasing effect is really annoying, actually. That's why I got so sidetracked by it last night, but I think maybe other people would maybe like that. I don't know, it's a personal preference. Also, some of them are going way faster than I would maybe want, so maybe I'll decrease this quite a bit. So now they're a little slower. All right, that's getting pretty cool. It's kind of trippy. So if you look at like one line, just pay attention to one line at a time, you can see that what they're doing is getting bigger, getting smaller, getting bigger, getting smaller. They're doing that at different speeds, so it's not like they're all moving at once. And then when they either reach like the full height of the canvas, or when they reach 0 height, then their speed reverses and they either get bigger or smaller depending on which direction they were going. So that's kind of cool. Another thing I could do is, so a few things. One, I could maybe instead of drawing from the top, maybe I draw them from the center. Another thing I could do is not draw each one as a line, but treat each one as a point and draw a single line that kind of connects them. That might be fun. Let's maybe start by drawing from the center. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say height over 2 minus line heights of x over 2. I think that's right. Yeah. And then x, and then height over 2 plus. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Height over 2 plus line heights x over 2. So what I'm doing is drawing from x, and then height over 2 is right in the middle, but I'm subtracting the height of the line, but dividing by 2 because I only want like half the line height above the middle, and I want the other half of the line height to be below the middle, so that all of my lines will sort of start from the center. And let's see what that looks like. Ooh, I like that. That's cool. I like that. I'm not sure quite what it looks like to me yet, but it's kind of fun. It kind of looks like, I don't know, like a reflection of a pond. That's what I'm kind of seeing. Like those are trees in the background, and below them is like the water. So ooh, is there something I can do there? Maybe. Like what I'm thinking about is playing with color now. So like what if I do like stroke of blue? So RGB, let's be like dark blue. So now it's like all water. What would it look like if it was green? Oh wait, R. I always mix these up. RGB. That's like neon green. Okay. I have a thing in my brain that I might think about doing. Maybe. So right now I'm drawing one line per x coordinate, or x value of the coordinate. And what I might do instead is draw 2 lines. and then I'll make them different colors. Maybe. First, let me think about this math for a second. So I'm going to draw the first one. I'll make this the top part. So I still want the minus, but then I only want to draw to height over 2. So I'm drawing from the top to the middle here, and that one will be RGB. Let's make this one green. So maybe like 100, 0. And then this one will go from the middle, which is height over 2, to the bottom of the whole thing, and I'll make this one blue. RGB. Let's see. There's a little bit of overlap, I think. Maybe that's okay, actually. I think maybe that 100 is not quite enough. So maybe. I don't know. I kind of thought it would maybe look like a reflection, like that we're looking at a lake and we see the forest in the background, and then we see like the reflection of the forest, but I don't know if I see that now that I'm staring at it. That's what I was kind of thinking. That's what I was kind of going for, but I don't know. I think maybe if I play with the colors a bit more, I might be able to get there. So maybe this shouldn't be blue. Maybe this should be maybe kind of purpley. And maybe instead of this being full green, maybe it's like green blue. Maybe. I still don't think it looks like a lake with a reflection on it, but it does look kind of cool, and I think you could probably play with the colors. But you know, it's kind of up to you what that looks like. What time is it? Yeah, not bad. So right now I'm doing something different for each X value, and that's, you know, that's fun enough. That gets you to these kind of cool patterns where you do something different for each X in your canvas, but you don't have to do that. You're not stuck with that. So another thing I might do is play with the width of each line. So maybe that's what I'll do next. So yeah, so right now I loop to width, and what I want to do is maybe create a variable called const lines equals, and then set it to some number. Right now it's width, so I'll stick with that for now, I think. So I'm going to go, actually I'm going to change it to 200 just for fun. So now I'm going to loop to lines in setup, and then down here I'm going to loop, I guess I'll still loop to lines, because I have this kind of parallel array structure, which is not how I would like to have done this, but I'm kind of limiting myself to only using arrays. So here we are. So I'm looping to lines here, and let's just see what this does. I think what it should do, is only show like half of the screen is covered, and that's because my lines variable here is only 200 and my width is 400. So I could increase this to 300 to make it bigger. I could decrease it to 100 to make it, well, I could make that much larger. Decrease it to 100 to make it smaller. But what I want to do is I only want 200 lines, or whatever I have here, but I want them to fill the screen. And so what I can do is here, so I have X as my variable here. So first off, what I want to do is maybe rename this. So I'm going to rename this variable to I, because it's no longer the X coordinate of the line. And this is a little bit annoying, so sorry if you're coding along, but this is how I code in real life. So this is maybe a realistic picture of what it looks like. All All right, so I'm just going to test that this works and I didn't miss any variables. So, yep, of course I missed a variable. Oh, here, duh. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna change these back to x in a second, but just for now. Yeah, okay. So here it is. All I've done is rename this variable I. So what I want to do is here I want to calculate a couple things. So let me first calculate x. So const x equals what? What is the x coordinate of my line if I'm at I? If I'm at index I in the array, where do I want my line to be? And I tend to think of this in terms of like, where do I want to be at index 0? Where do I want to be at the halfway point? And where do I want to be at the last index? That kind of helps me figure out the bounds of the math. So when I'm at 0, I want to be at 0, which hopefully makes my life a little easier. When I'm at the halfway point, then I want to be at width over 2. And when I'm at the end, I want to be at width. So I think what I can do is I'm going to be multiplying width by something, I think, and I'm going to be multiplying it by I and something else. Maybe I divided by lines. Yeah, I think this feels right to me. So when I'm at 0, this will be 0. When I'm at the halfway point in the lines, which is at 100, I'll be at 100 divided by 200, which will be 1 over 2, and so I'll be at width times 1 over 2, which will give me width times 0.5, which will give me this center point. So I think this feels right. There's probably another way to do this in p5 now I'm thinking about it, but whatever. We can do it ourselves. It's fine. So now I'm going to use that x value here. And that looks like it worked. I'm actually a little surprised that it worked, but I think we're getting back to that anti-aliasing thing. Yeah, so now, and this is behind the scenes stuff that you don't actually have to care about, but like now all of the lines are the same color. You no longer see that kind of artifact, and that's because I've spread them out a little bit more, but they're actually thicker than 1 pixel, 1 pixel in width. So yeah, like it's still filling the screen. So what I might do is decrease this, and now what should happen is I'll have fewer lines, but they will still fill the width of the screen. And yeah, cool. So now you can start to see the space in between the lines as well. So maybe I'll decrease this quite a bit more, maybe all the way down to like 25. And yeah, I'm into this. I realize that might be a little dark for the camera or for the video, so maybe I'll brighten those up. Where is that? Maybe just for now I'll make it what's this, RGB. That'll be yellow. I don't want yellow. RGB, that'll be purple. It'll be like magenta. Maybe this one is cyan, just to make it a lot brighter. Yeah, whatever. Actually, it's kind of cool. Okay, but you see that I have 25 lines. I could count them. Actually, maybe decrease it down to 10. So now I've got 10 lines. I'm going to count them, and what I'll maybe point out at the very beginning is like there's one right on the left edge. It's at 0. You can barely see it, but right now it's like very small. Now it's like halfway to the screen. Now it's the full width, and so it's all the way to the left. So that's number 1. Then I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I don't go all the way. There's not one on the width on the complete right edge, which is what I would expect from this number. Because my last I is going to be 9. 9 divided by 10 is like 90% of the way through the width. So what I want to do next is maybe calculate a line width. And I think each line is going to have the same width. Yeah. And so I think I can calculate that ahead of time. Or I can just calculate it here. Const line width equals width divided by lines. So I have a certain number of pixels in my canvas, and I want each line to take up 1/10 of that of that real estate. And then I can use that somewhere. So instead of lines here, I'm going to maybe make them rectangles. Yeah. So now I've got a rectangle from X, and yeah, it's going to get a little weird for a second. Hold on. So it's going to be X, and the upper left coordinate, I think that's still going to be the same. And now I need a width and a height. So this width is going to be line width, and this height is going to be line heights. Wait, line heights divided by 2. Yeah. Line heights I divided by 2. Let me maybe just try that. So I've only touched the top half of the lines, and let's just see. Ooh, yeah, okay. So there's a couple goofy things happening, but hopefully this shows what I'm going for. So now I'm still only drawing 10 lines, but now instead of just a single tiny little line, I'm drawing a whole rectangle so that the lines kind of stretch to fill the width of the canvas. And we can count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 lines that take up 1/10 of the width, which is what I was doing here. And they go all the way across the screen. So next thing I'll do is obviously fix that color problem, which is because I don't have a fill set. So fill. Yeah, okay. So now my top lines are filled and they're moving up and down, and good enough. So you can kind of compare the effects. So look at like one of the blue lines and then compare that to what's happening on the bottom half, where the line is starting from the left edge of the rectangle, and it's only a couple pixels wide because it's just a line, it's not a rectangle. And everything else is the same, like the height is the same. So let me maybe do the same kind of thing here. So I'm going to do fill of some color, doesn't really matter, but I'm going to stick with what I had before. And here what I want to do is a rectangle from X, height over 2, that's the top, to a width of line width, that's going to be the same. And actually these are both going to be the same. To line heights I divided by 2. Yeah. So yeah, you can see the effect. What I might do is increase the number of lines now. I put it down to 10 just to kind of show the kind of math of mapping a array index to an X coordinate and a width. But maybe now that I have that figured out, I'll increase it quite a bit. And that might be cool. Now it's kind of looking like a city, I guess. I don't know why I want it to look like something. That's my own brain kind of doing pattern mapping, I guess. But I could just say it's just a weird looking design with a couple colors involved. It doesn't have to be anything. I think maybe now I'll speed this back up too. And oh man, I wish I had written down what those colors were ahead of time. But what did I have up here? I had like blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. I think I had something like this. Oh right. Well, I actually kind of like that, but maybe. Maybe. So I kind of like that. I mean, it's not, I don't know what my goal was really, but it's kind of cool. There's this cool like split second when a couple of them hit the middle at the same time, where it looks, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like maybe like a drop hitting a pond. I don't know. I don't know why I keep trying to make it look like something. But now we're at the stage where I can just fiddle with parameters all day. And I never know how interesting that is, but it's something I could get sucked into for the next 2 hours of being like, should this be 5 or 10 or 20, or should this number be 100, or whatever. And I never know how interesting that is to watch. But I think I've set out what I think I've done what I set out to do, which was I've created another example that uses arrays in this case to show a bunch of lines that fill the screen. And I think what I'll do is maybe think about how to expand on what I just did, but I'm not going to do that on video. I think I'm going to give myself another day to think about how I might expand on this idea of, I have some numbers that are stored in an array and I can show them in the canvas. And now I would maybe think to myself, what can I do with this? But the purpose of this video is to kind of show just getting started. So maybe I've done that. Yeah, so from here, I mean, there's a few things you could do. You could always play the game of fiddling with these parameters. And so what does this look like if it's really sped up or really slowed down? What does this look like if there are 1,000 lines? What if there are more lines than there are X values on the canvas? What if each line is less than 1 pixel? I honestly don't know the answer. I'm very tempted to do it right now, but I'm going to leave that as something that y'all can check out. Other things you could do is obviously, like, you could play with how these are displayed. I'm showing them as lines that kind of bounce up and down, and I'm showing them as one color on the top and one color on the bottom. Many things you could do. You could change the colors. You could maybe try to make it look more like something, or maybe even try to make it less like something. Maybe your color is based on the X value. Actually, maybe it looks like a rainbow that goes from one color on the left to a different color on the right. Different ways to do that as well. But the ideas that we applied here, I think, apply to a lot of different things that you can do in P5. So I started by creating an array, and then I filled that array with some value, in this case just kind of random values, and then I did something with those values. In this case, I added some speed to it, and then I bounced it back and forth, but that's kind of just what I did here. But you could do anything you want with the value in the array. And then I use those values to draw something. So that's how you get your animation. As your values in the array change over time, so does what's drawn, because it's both based on the array. So many different ways to explore in that direction as well. Okay, so thanks for watching this far. I'll say that if you have enjoyed this, and if you're coding along, and if you have your own take on it, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Either leave that as a comment down in the YouTube comment section, or better yet, come to happycoding.io and then click over here to the forum. And this is where I hang out. So if you post here, I will see it, and I would love to hear from you and see what you're working on. So don't be a stranger. But for me, I think this is what I set out to do. I played around with for loops, did not really have a plan, and came up with this kind of trippy blue, purple, not quite a pond, not quite a city animation. So I think I'm into it. So all right, thanks for watching. Have a great night. And as always, of course, happy coding.